Greetings from Cybertron. This is SoundJack here with another episode of SoundJack's Rambles. And today I am here with Alyssa.
Hello.
And we are here to discuss the musical Chicago.
Yep.
Yes.
As you can see from the title card and the title of this video.
That is very true. I'd be surprised if you clicked on this video and you didn't know what it was. But hey, maybe you didn't. Maybe you're just interested in what we want to talk about. And you know what? I went to school for theater. I love musicals. So we need to do more musicals on this channel. So let us do that by doing one of the more popular musicals. Probably one of the most popular musicals, if I dare say. Chicago. Which, if you don't know, is currently the longest running American musical. Now, this is a technicality because Phantom of the Opera has run longer on Broadway. However, that premiered in West End, which is England's Broadway, if you don't know what West End means, first. So it premiered in England first before coming to the U.S. So while it's run longer in the U.S., Chicago was first produced on Broadway, and it has not left Broadway since it's been produced, so it is now the longest running. It was 20 years last year at the Tonys, I believe. So it's now hitting 21 years running, and that is...
Chicago can finally order a drink at a bar.
Yes.
Look at that.
The longest, yeah. It is... Yes. I was just double checking the facts. So we're looking at Wikipedia for information, folks. Don't blame us. You do the same.
I mean, you know, I will stand by Wikipedia as a fairly good source for general information.
Yeah. And correction, it is the revival that is the longest running musical. It did originally premiere in 1975 and then had a revival. I'm trying to figure out when the...
If you said it was 20 years, then it was probably in the 80s, right?
No, it'd be the 90s.
Oh.
It'd be in 90s because
we're in the... math. I can math, guys. So it would be 1997?
7? Yeah, something about there.
Okay. Well, anyway, this musical is pretty great.
Ooh, actually, I just double-checked. 1996 Broadway revival.
Never mind. We both are liars, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this is why we have the information in front of us.
Exactly.
And speaking of the information in front of us, you want to tell us what this musical is in fact about?
Sure. So, Chicago is a musical about two women, Roxy Hart and Velma Kelly. Thank you. And basically, Roxy Hart ends up she's having an affair, and she ends up killing her lover and is sent to jail for it. And basically, she wants to try and get out of jail or be not convicted for the crime. And she goes to it's the Cook County Jail, and then she meets up with Velma Kelly, who is a washed-up vaudeville actress who also killed her lover. And basically she they have a rivalry going on. Roxy also really wants to be an actress and be in vaudeville herself. And then she basically hires, she doesn't hire the matron Mama Morton, that's her name. Mm-hmm. The matron gives her Billy Flynn as her lawyer, and he's like the public defense lawyer, who takes her case and basically tells her to you want to act like we're going to act like it was in self-defense, and you were an innocent young lady who didn't do any harm, in order to get the graces of the press and the judge, as well as the jury too.
Give 'em the old razzle dazzle.
That. And then there's also Amos Hart, who's her husband.
Roxy's husband.
Roxy's husband, not Velma's. Yes. Velma's husband. The husband?
Yeah, it was the husband.
The husband is dead. There's also Amos Hart, who is...
Along with her sister, right? Yeah, Velma's sister. Yes.
Yeah. Amos is basically kind of just there for the ride, I guess. He's just there. He, is really unhappy about the situation, but he's also pretty, like, I don't know, supportive in some ways. So he wants to, like, get her out of jail too. And then there's also the last major character is Mary Sunshine, who is the
reporter.
Yeah, she's a reporter for one of the papers, and she's very much, got all about, like, appealing. She's the kind of person who would, like, feel sympathy for the innocent poor women, quote unquote, who is doing all this murder stuff. Yes. And there are other characters involved, obviously. There's the other murderesses of the Cook County Jail who all have backstories. But those are the major,
yes.
Like, those are the named characters that, like, get a lot of
the
main ones that, like, get most of the time. So did I miss anything?
I don't think so. But you brought up a very interesting point with Mary Sunshine of, like, why is she trying to present them this way? And we are going to drop some history on you all. And honestly, I just learned this history while I was looking up info on this musical, so we'd have a bit more to talk about.
Time for the more you know segment.
Yes. If you don't know, this musical was actually written as a play back in the 1920s during the vaudeville era. It was a very interesting time since this was also the progression of women's rights and all of that. Yep. So a weird thing that
I think actually the amendment, what is it, the 19th Amendment that grants the women the right to vote?
Yeah.
I think it was granted, like, in the 20s.
Yeah.
Like,
that sounds right.
So yeah, and the suffrage movement was like a decade prior, bleeding into the 20s. So you're right. It definitely is. Yeah. Was a big thing back in the day.
Yes. So, but a thing that happened around the same time was that the notability of women murderers, and during this time, it just became the thing to talk about, especially in Chicago, where this play takes place. Mm-hmm. This musical takes place in the original play and the original background, because this is actually technically based on a real thing, real events. Of specific note, in this particular, the two characters of Roxy and Velma are based on two actual people. The first one, Belua Annan, and Velma Belva Gartner, who were two high-profile woman murderers who both got let go, got off the hook, or were convicted if not guilty in their trials. And the thing with the rise of the trials of the women murderers, the thing was, a lot of them got away because at the time, death was the penalty for murder. So the all-male juries did not want to hang the woman.
Yep.
So, and then a lot of newspapers, this is where Mary Sunshine comes in, some of them, not all of them. The Chicago Tribune, mostly, which is the one where the person who wrote the play worked for, was like a hang them high stance, but still presenting the details of their lives. Other papers, such as the Hearst papers, were very much, look at the woman, look at their lives, how could they be murderers, redeem them, kind of stance. But during these trials, they were presented as celebrities, which is a very big thing with the story, especially Roxy's story, that, like, she's got the spotlight. She is a star. She is famous because of this stuff going on. And that's the big thing. And then again, all these trials happened in 1920s. 1924 specifically was when both of them were charged. Yeah, they were both charged in 1924. Velma Carey's character did get charged first, followed by Roxy Hart about a month later. And then they did both get acquitted. And then the play that the Chicago Tribune author, the Chicago Tribune writer who wrote the stories on these two trials, whose name was Maureen Dallas Watkins, wrote her play in 1926, and it was produced on Broadway even, and ran for a solid amount of performances, and even got a movie adaptation and a silent film version. And then in the 1960s, the Bob Fosse. Fosse, is that how you pronounce that?
I guess.
Bob Fosse approached Mrs. Watkins or Miss Watkins about getting the rights to the play for a musical after being suggested by her Bob Fosse's wife suggested, hey, maybe this could be a good musical. She was reluctant because she was born again Christian and she thought it glamorized it. But when she died, her estate gave him the rights.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah,
in a weird way.
Yeah, so thanks the Watkins estate for not following your deceased person's wishes, I guess.
Yeah.
Or else you wouldn't have a kicking musical. But then it was made. He got the rights. It was made, and then the music was written by Candor and Ebb, who were a pretty notable duo. I'd say they were probably most notable for this musical.
Probably.
Yeah. And then Fosse helped write this, helped pen the book, as well as directed and choreographed the show itself.
Yep. And so now there is a brief history of Chicago the musical. Very interesting stuff.
One more point I do want to make. They did at the very least specify how old Roxie was. The character who was based on the person who Roxie was based on was 23 when she was charged. This is going to be which you may think it's not important right now, but it's going to be important later when we get to talking about the portrayals we've seen. But before we get to that, all the portrayals of this musical. But before we get there, we do want to address how we both came across this musical. Before we really get started, I'm going to say for both of us, because we discussed this before, Chicago is one of those musicals that even if you don't know it, you have heard of it. So it's good. It's like hard to know like when you heard about Chicago.
Yeah.
I just kind of learned about it at some point, and then it just became part of my theater culture. And until I actually listened to the entire thing.
Yeah.
But Alyssa, I'll let you start when you first really got involved or knowing of Chicago.
Yeah, so basically, I guess the first time it ever really entered my consciousness was when the 2002 movie was starting to come out. Obviously, I was way too young to see it or really know what was going on, but that's probably the first time where I had seen Chicago or anything associated with it. The real point for me to start, when I started really thinking about Chicago or know about Chicago, is actually from one of my friends when she played or showed me the song Subrock Tango from this musical. And I didn't know the context for the song, but I just listened to it. I thought it was a really cool song. So that was either in middle school or high school. So that was when I first really knew about it. I did not know about the plot or the characters or what the whole deal was with Chicago until I saw it recently, actually, when I went to see it with you at your alma mater.
Yeah, my high school.
Yeah.
At my high school summer camp for theater, and they did Chicago.
That was the first time I saw the actual story and the play being shown to me. But before that, I knew sort of that it existed, and I knew that it was kind of risque, but I didn't know much about it outside of the Cell Block Tango. So, but now I do know a lot about it, because I've seen it performed twice. So, but we'll talk about that later. But that's basically my experience with Chicago and how I found out about it.
Excellent. For me, my first time seeing it was the same time as Alyssa did at my high school summer camp. That was actually the first year I was not involved in that summer camp in any way, shape, or form, but I still came back to see the show, and it was a very, very good production. I know I listened to the soundtrack at some point. I can't remember exactly when I did, but to be a bit more specific, when I first directly interacted with Chicago was senior year. I was in the dance troupe. I'm not even sure what we called it, but like I did the dance. I was in the dance program, and we did a show every year at the end of the year, and this was only in the spring. Yeah, we only took the classes in the spring, and then we did a show at the end of the year. I did it the 2 years I was at that school, and there were a very, very small amount of guys, let me tell you. But every year there was a senior piece to like be a big send-off to the seniors. It was all the seniors involved, and that's all that was done. The senior piece that we did was the Cell Block Tango, where me and and one other guy were all the guys that were murdered. God, okay, which one? Which ones were I? I was Pop, and Lipschitz. Nice. We did skip Squish, which was the knife one. I don't know why. We specifically edited the track to skip over the story about the you've been screwing the milkman one.
Oh, okay.
And we just skipped right Pop, Six, Squish. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we skipped right from the 6. What was 6?
We can talk about that when we talk about the song later.
Yeah, we skipped right from 6 to which was we'll definitely talk about this because this is like the song from the show.
Of course.
Though of course there were a lot of other really great songs from the show, and one I think is a little bit underrated, which I really like. But that's yes. I got shot in the head. I got choked. I died in Czech, I believe is her spoken language.
Yes.
Yeah, so...
or is it Hungarian? It might have been...
It might have been Hungarian.
It might be Hungarian.
It's certainly... It's
Eastern Europe. It's one of those languages.
Central Eastern Europe, because I've been to... I will say I have been to the Czech Republic for theater-related things, because...
we don't need to get into that.
Yeah, but they do I will say, if you go to the Czech Republic, do not say they're in Eastern Europe. They are Central Europe. They do not want to be reminded that they were part of the USSR.
Yeah.
But anyway.
That's fair. So, anyway, that's basically how we got into or became aware of Chicago. And then I guess before we get into more stuff, do we recommend it?
Yes.
Yes!
Absolutely.
Yes. I think this musical is really great, and I think it has a lot of good things about it. Definitely don't bring your kids to this one. I actually have a funny story related to that when we get into performances, but we'll come back to that when we get to that.
Yeah. But before we get to that, let's just talk about the characters themselves, irregardless of the performances we've seen, how the characters operate. We can certainly touch upon like our experiences of how we interpret the characters from the performances we've seen, but as the audience won't really have the context, we can't do it too much.
Yeah.
Especially for the smaller performances. Probably some of them have seen the Broadway one, but not everyone can, obviously. Yes. I would love to see it, but I haven't. Anyway, let's start with probably the main girl, Roxy Hart. The name on everybody's lips is gonna be...
Are you just gonna sing the whole song? The whole soundtrack while we do this?
Probably.
Okay.
What would you expect anything less of me?
No, I wouldn't. Anyway, so yeah, I think I actually kind of want to talk about. I feel like you can't talk about Roxy without talking about Velma because they have the main dynamic.
Understandable.
I think both of them they're a good dynamic. I think the fact that Roxy's sort of the young blood who she's kind of arrogant actually. I think.
She is.
She really wants to like. She is kind of arrogant. She does sort of have. It's really kind of funny how like little she cares that she killed someone in some ways. Like, because I figured, like, before I saw the show, I had this mental image in my mind that, like, Roxy was going to be more of the innocent.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in some cases she is. But
not
really.
She's more, at the beginning, she's just more naive to the overall experience.
Yeah, but
even at the end, she's a bit more naive of the overall experience. But
right,
like,
she's not innocent at all.
Yeah.
And I guess like the point is that most of the characters aren't like actually care about the fact that these women murdered people. I mean, to some degree, some people do. Obviously, like Mary Sunshine and like other reporters, but Roxy and Velma at least aren't like that concerned about the fact that they have blood on their hands.
I wouldn't say Mary Sunshine's concerned at all.
Oh, that's fair. She wants to.
She wants to free them. If anyone's concerned, it's actually Amos.
That's fair. Amos is the straight man.
Yeah. To all this madness.
Yeah, and same thing with Velma. Velma's killed 2 people, but she doesn't really care that much that she did that. She sees it as justified, and so does Roxy.
Yeah.
They both see them as acting as you would, as the song goes. If you would have been there, you would have done the same. Mm-hmm. Look at that.
Hey, you can't help it either.
Oh, no, I can't. There's that part of it. I also like how Roxy kind of like steals Velma's thunder too. Mm-hmm. That I think is really great. I like I said, I feel like it would be really easy for this play to have made Roxy into a character that again was like the innocent, you know. But she definitely is kind of she's kind of a menace in some ways. You know, her taking ideas from the people and using them for her own benefit.
Yes.
And I guess that makes the ending where they are both dancing kind of an interesting moment because you don't really get this feeling that they sort of have come to terms, but they're just more like, well, we're both stuck in the same situation, so I guess we're just gonna dance and kind of just deal with each other.
Yep.
Velma's pretty interesting. I think that she has a lot of as a character, she has a lot of life to her. And you know, the fact that she's she's definitely the kind of person who kind of, I think she almost sees Roxy as a threat in the sense that like she's sort of the person in the grand scheme of things. Like she's the one everyone talks about. She's the one everyone looks up to. But now Roxy's coming along
because Velma was the star girl for the newspapers.
Yeah.
Until Roxy's case came along. And then she got overshadowed and she got very jealous and even started trying to get in on Roxy's action by trying to get the two-person act going back again.
Yeah, definitely. And like I think it's really makes sense considering like sort of the themes of the play, how Roxy and Velma are constantly trying to one up each other or constantly trying to like do things for selfish reasons, you know? Mm-hmm. They don't really have much compassion towards each other. Yeah. And I guess it sort of matches this idea of like business being more like this murder business being a show too. I don't know. I think there's a lot to say on those two. Unless you have something else you wanted to mention.
I mean, you pretty much touched all of it, most of it, honestly. They are a very strong character dynamic, and it is very interesting to see how the events affect them.
Yeah.
Especially.
Yeah.
But I think we should move on to the main man of the play, Billy Flynn. This sleazeball.
Oh my god, he's such a sleazeball. But in the best. I mean his first.
Want Billy.
Yeah.
I apologize for my terrible singing.
Billy is really funny. I like how he definitely is not in it because he wants to help people. He's
not convinced that any of them are innocent.
No, he's
money.
He's in it for money and also occasional fun stuff on
bow
set.
chicka bow wow.
Yeah, that stuff. And like I said, almost pretty much none of the characters, for the most part, with the exception of like Amos, are all in it for their own personal gain. Mm-hmm. You know, Billy Flynn is helping, you know, Roxy, but once Roxy isn't like the hot thing, he's gonna drop her. You know, he doesn't care. Same thing with Velma, like, I think he dropped Velma's case too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Once she wasn't, like, doing well, he dropped her for Roxy, and then tried to help Roxy, and then he was getting all the attention too, so...
Excuse you.
Excuse me, yeah. And one of the big things, too, is that Billy's really, like, he's a public defender, so he has to help these people who, in some cases, would have normal reason, would have no reason to, like, sympathize with them,
yes.
But then turn them into, get the public to be sympathetic towards them.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like how he, even though he's dressed, or at least in the performance I've seen, he's always dressed in a suit and to the nines, he still comes off as like, man, this guy really doesn't care and like is just as lazy as the rest of them. Mm-hmm. He might not have killed anyone, but he's definitely not here for like the right reasons. So
yeah, definitely. Moving on, let's get to Mr. Cellophane himself, Amos Hart. Husband to Roxie, concerned, caring, kind husband, so dull to Roxie.
I feel really bad for him.
Yeah.
I like, granted, we don't know much about their relationship, and all we hear about it is from Roxie's point of view, so we have no idea, like, if Amos is, like, neglectful to her, or if he's really a loving husband and she's just not interested. I'm trying to remember, because I know that there are some times where she talks about him, but it seems like it's more like oh, that's right. She has the husband, but more because for security and for providing things, and like she doesn't really love him.
Yeah. She
just wants that marriage just makes sense, especially at the time period. It's just a better deal, and then she'll just have some fun on the side, and who cares?
Until she murders the lover, and then this all happens.
Yep.
And he gets trapped in a musical.
Yep. And Amos definitely, like I said, Amos I feel pretty bad for, because he seems like I said, he seems to genuinely just want to have a normal life, and it's nice how he's supportive of Roxy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Roxy doesn't like tell him that she did it.
Yep.
Wait.
Okay, I did listen to the soundtrack recently.
Okay.
And basically during the opening song, like, we see the murder and all of that. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is that she says it was a burglar.
Oh, that's right.
And then she says, Amos, tell them that you killed him because you'll get off, surely.
Oh, that's right.
Because the guy was trying to break in. And then he learns the name of the victim, and they know, and he knows the guy.
Oh, it's true.
Because he sold them the furniture.
Oh,
and gave them 10% off. Oh. So then he connects the dots, tattles on Roxie.
That's fair. Okay, yeah.
And that's how she gets arrested.
Yep.
But even after that, even that betrayal, he still gets the money, so as she can have Billy Flynn as her defense attorney.
Yeah, it's kind of weird like that, because he was the one who put her in jail, but then at the end of the day, he still tries to, be... I mean, even when she, like, pretends to be pregnant, he's like, I'm the father! Like, he's really excited. She's, like, excited about it, which is also kind of interesting.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah. And
You can't kill me, I'm pregnant!
Yep. There's that bombshell. And then... Yeah, so that, I guess in some ways Amos is sort of selfish too. I mean, he only really gets excited when he learns that he's going to be a father. Yeah. But at the same time, like, he's definitely, like I said, the straight man. He's the only person who probably has, like, no moral, like, not as many moral qualms. And, he wants to be supportive, and he is just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you say anything else about he's just kind of there, about the guy whose only song and musical is about a song how no one notices him.
Yeah, I know. I think that song is.
That's. I will say even before we get to the music that I mentioned before of what I think is an underrated song, and I think that's the underrated song.
I think so too. Cellophane is a really good, fun song, and it's more mellow than some of the other songs in the play, but I think it works to its advantage. You know, like it's sort of lower and or little less instrumentals, but it makes sense because Amos is a not very bombastic character, so you want to have a song that's like slower and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I really like the Mr. Cellophane too.
Yeah. Who were we talking about again?
Amos. Oh, that was the joke. That was the joke. I totally missed that.
Beautiful. But I think we are done talking about Amos at this point, so let's move on to Matron Mama Martin, who, I mean, she's in the play. She's in the musical. She's not...
she's there.
I mean, she is there. She does get her own song, and she is important as she is the one in charge of the Cook County Jail.
Yep.
And she to an extent, she's a sounding board for Roxie when she's having the problems.
Yeah, she's kind of the person that Roxie goes to bounce things off, and a lot of the discussions that she has with people are with the matron. So, in some ways, you know, she's definitely an important character. But I don't really know if there's really any distinct characteristics about her outside of her just, you know, helping her charges out,
as well as for favors in return.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
There's that aspect, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's about it for her. And Mary Sunshine, well, I mean, Mary Sunshine. Happy-go-lucky, joy, joy, joy. Everyone's so nice and kind and sweet. I am just trying to be the idealistic optimist about all these women because these women are innocent and sweet and kind, and how could they murder anyone and give them a chance? And I really don't think there's much else to her.
Well, aside of the twist.
Oh, yeah.
Where we find out it was a dude the whole time. Oh, no.
Yep.
And that's actually why in the performer list that we see here actually, like, mentions it. When you look at the cast list, they won't list the first name of the actor because otherwise it would reveal the twist ahead of time. Because you're not supposed to know it's a guy until after she is revealed to be one.
Yep.
Gotta say though, voice totally trips you off too.
Yes.
Yes. You know,
even on the recording,
yeah, like when I watched the play, like I mean, I knew about the fact that Mary Sunshine is a guy, but like even then, if you're someone who doesn't know the play, they'll probably be duped because. Unless they look in the playbook and they're like, but like, definitely the high octaves, like the Mary Sunshine's like all of her songs, or all the parts of her in the songs, all are like alto, right?
Yeah.
Or even higher. Soprano? Is that?
Yeah, soprano's higher than alto.
Would she be?
I guess mezzo.
Okay, but definitely like high voice, opera-ish singer.
So probably soprano. Does the cast list give us actual voice part? No. So definitely has to be played by a tenor, maybe even a contratenor.
Yeah.
Someone that knows the voice parts of the characters, tell us what voice part Mary Sunshine is, please.
Yes, please. But basically, it's it's a big. It's a big thing, but yeah. So that part's always really fun. Mm-hmm. What else? I think that's all the characters.
Yeah, that's all the characters. So let's get on to the good part, the music.
All right. So, do you want to talk about the music? You seem to be jumping around a little bit over there. Or do you want me to talk about stuff?
You can get started. I just want to talk about the music. I just need a point to attack it from.
Sure.
I don't know where to start.
So I guess I'll start by saying that my favorite song in this entire musical is "Sidewalk Tango," which I'm sure is everyone's favorite song. But I like it a lot, and it's actually, incidentally, still my favorite all-time Broadway musical song. I don't know why it's my favorite. No, I do know why it's my favorite. It's my favorite because I think it has a lot of... I like the instrumental part of it. I like how it's tango. And I also really just like how it sort of tells a story. It's really intricate with it. And manages to be really engaging even though it's just a song. Like what I like about tango is you can sort of remove it from the musical it's from and just listen to it on its own and be engaged anyway. And you sort of know what's going on. You know it's about these women who are arrested and they are murdered, and you sort of understand their point of view too. Like they don't see it as a crime because they were downtrodden by the people who they killed, and they saw it as revenge and totally justified. And
though a few of them were weak.
Yeah.
If you pop that bubblegum one more time,
I'm gonna.
And he did. So I took the shotgun off the wall and I fired 2 warning shots into his head.
Because that's a normal reaction to have when someone's annoying you, right? They annoy you and then you shoot them. Typical dealing with that. I also really like how, even though the woman who doesn't, oh man, what's her name? The woman who doesn't speak English, or
yeah,
I forget her name, but she basically, even though like you don't speak her language, you don't understand what she's saying, you totally still buy that she is probably not guilty, and is probably the only person in that entire.
Unless you watch the movie.
Oh, is the movie?
I haven't watched the movie, but like, it certainly portrays it much more that she's guilty as the rest of them, instead of like the not guilty. It's more like not guilty.
Oh, I see.
Like it's over exaggerated.
It's sort of the way this one might be like lying would.
Yeah, but like there's no sympathy in her voice.
Oh,
no
I
remorse.
see.
No, why is this happening? I don't understand what's going on. It's just like
okay.
Just
because whenever I've listened to the song, and even when I was watching the play, I always got the
yes,
the vibe that she was literally like innocent and didn't know what was happening.
And if you know the language, what's going on in the thing, you understand. It's not entirely clear. I can't even remember. I was in the dance and we talked about what the dance was about, but something to do with Uncle Sam, certainly.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think she like went in someone's stead or something. Or she was, like, brought in by someone, but she's not actually the guilty party. Either way, whenever I've seen the play version and whenever I've listened to the music removed from the play, I've always come across the vibe that she wasn't actually guilty. And also considering the fact that the music takes a different tone when she talks. That to me signals, okay, this is different. And it's not just the fact that she's speaking a different language, it's the fact that she... Just the vibe of that section just gives off that she, again, probably is telling the truth.
And it's a breath of fresh air in the song that makes it extra good, because it's not just 6 repeated stories of women that like, oh, I'm not guilty. This is completely justified and understandable. There's one breath of air that's like, wait, I'm actually innocent over here.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that is true. I also kind of like how Velma's story is sort of woven into that moment. Like,
so as we get her backstory on top of all these,
even though like she's one of the major characters, you still are really interesting how she sort of is brought into it with all the other ones. It sort of makes it feel more like a cohesive whole rather than just her being in the spotlight, which is really cool. So I really like the song. I like it also because it's like the perfect song I like to listen to when I'm really pissed off at someone. Like, I'll just listen and be like, yeah. It has that vibe of like, aggression, but in a really like cool way. And to be fair, I'm not the biggest fan of the woman scorn trope, but I think it works in this scenario. Which is rare. A lot of times when I see the woman scorn trope, I just go like, ugh. Yeah. But in this scenario, I think it's actually it works to the play's advantage because it's just all about this awful, scummy situation. So.
No, yeah. I think that's all we need to say on Subblock Channel.
Oh yeah.
Let's move on to another song we talked about before. Mr. Cellophane.
Mr. Cellophane is so funny.
Yeah.
I love that song. Why don't you talk about it? Because I talked a lot about Subblock Channel.
I mean, I'm trying to find what to say about it, but like, I think it's also in the musical overall, it's a breath of fresh air because it is a very different tonally from the rest of the show.
Yes.
And to get a different perspective on what's going on because this...
Yeah.
Or, well, not necessarily a different perspective on what's going on, but an extra bit of point of view from the other characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because most of it is Velma and Roxy and Billy.
Yeah.
Amos is incredibly important to the story, but he's just stuck in the background all the time.
Yeah.
And this song points to that and just gives us his character. If we didn't have this song, I doubt Amos would be as sympathize.
We wouldn't sympathize with them as much. Yeah, I definitely
he
agree.
would be gone. He would be gone from everyone's minds if he didn't have the song.
Yeah,
honestly.
And I also kind of find it interesting how they sort of, because again, since this play is sort of wrapped around vaudeville, they kind of like weave in vaudeville acts into it. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I think is really great is how he sort of is like the clown or like the comedy act, I guess. Yeah. I know like the hand glove thing that he does is definitely is a vaudeville thing.
Yes,
I think.
Yes.
So I think it's really nice, and like I said, I also like how the instrumentation is minimal, so it reflects how he's like not that big of a force in the whole musical, and that's really great. And yeah, like I said, if you get it, like I said, it's really funny how like soft and how like you're sort of charmed by him when you're watching. Or at least I felt that way when I was watching that song. So that's how I think with.
Yeah. Should have been my name, Mr. Cellophane, 'cause you can look right through me, walk right by me, and never know I'm there.
Yep.
That's such a good song.
Yes.
Anyway, other good songs from the show. Ooh, we both reached for the gun.
That's the one where she's like going over with Billy what she's gonna say.
No, that is the song they're going. That is what they're saying.
Yeah.
And now you will see if I can remember it. And now watch Mr. Billy Friend at the press conference. Watch how his mouth never moves.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She's on the.
She's the ventriloquist dummy. Yeah. That sequence was really great. I actually when I first saw that, I was like, this is so clever. That was like my first thought because like I said, vaudeville again has a lot of ventriloquist acts were a really big part of it. So it's so great how they sort of incorporated that.
Yeah. Where'd you come from, Mississippi? How old were you? Don't remember.
Yeah, like it's really funny. It really reflects like the plot in like a symbolic way that's really clever. I think it's also a good amount of comedy, especially since this whole time it's been pretty dramatic. I mean, there's comedy bits woven throughout this play, but this is like the first real big moment of comedy. Yeah. At least musically speaking. And we both should have gotten. It's really fun in that way.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's a grand song, and then the build up at the end of the oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, they both reach for the gun, yes. And the dance I saw, but that was wonderful, where they were all just puppets to his control, and it's like, let me bring, and it's just that was beautifully done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna give shout outs to the songs All That Jazz and Roxy.
Yes.
I think those are some of my other favorite songs. All That Jazz is a good opener. It gets you right in the mood. It establishes sort of the era. It establishes the scumminess. It establishes a lot of stuff, and it's a great opener.
Roxy will get stuck in my head about any of these songs.
Roxy's really catchy. I think it definitely does give you a good insight into Roxy's character. You know how she's like most of this murder plot isn't even. She's not, like I said, she's not even concerned about the fact that she murdered somebody. She doesn't have any guilt at all. She's just like, I can be a star. And like, I don't know. It's just a great way to like see into her head and really think about what she's thinking and what she's saying. And I like that a lot. Yeah, and I think the song's really catchy. It has a great groove to it. The dance sequences are typically really great. So there's that.
Yeah. What else? Razzle Dazzle.
Yep, that one's fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are there any songs on the one that you aren't a big fan of?
I'm trying to think. Not really. Like, there's certainly songs I don't remember as much, and songs that are not as good. But, like, I don't think there's particularly a bad song in the show, or a song that I would not like, oh, yeah, I'll listen to that. Certainly, I would prioritize listening to other songs if I had to.
Right.
But, like, if it came up, I'd listen to it.
Yeah, I think... I know, this is not to say it's a bad song, but I think the song that I like the least is probably My Own Best Friend, which is the one where Velma is trying to recruit Roxy to be in her two-woman show. I think, is that the song?
No.
Which song is that?
I Can't Do It Alone.
I Can't Do It Alone, that's in the title. Wow, okay. I Can't Do It Alone. I mean, like, I like the song. I think the part of it that doesn't really... And I think it's really funny how, like, they're catty to each other. Yeah. But at the same time, I think the part that doesn't get me is not necessarily the song itself, but the fact that, like, Velma's trying to show her, like, the kind of stuff.
That as a song of itself, it doesn't work as well because it's based on a lot of visual stuff.
Yeah, and well, especially if you're listening to it on its own, I think it probably doesn't hold up because, again, like, she's trying to show Roxy how the play works, and, like, if you're just listening to it, like, you can't see that. But even then, like, I guess this is more when I was watching the Broadway version that I saw, like, when Velma's talking and she's trying to show her all the flips and stuff. I guess her hand movements, maybe this particular Velma was just didn't really show the way it works. I mean, obviously the idea is that she can't really show her because, again, it's like needs two people. But I can't do it alone. But at the same time, I almost get the feeling that Roxy's supposed to be understanding what she's communicating, and, like, I guess there's just some sort of dissonance between the fact that I'm not really seeing what she's saying, so I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. Like I said, I still like the song. I'm not saying it's a bad song. It's probably just my least favorite out of all the music. That's fair.
Fair. Mm-hmm. I don't have any other songs I particularly need to bring up or want to bring up. You got anything else?
I guess the only one I'll say is just Class by Velma and the matron is kind of funny because it's mostly irony because they're like, oh, no one has any class. Meanwhile, who says they have class? They can't even, like, mm-hmm. They're like murderers, so of course they have class.
Oh, absolutely. But let's get on to talking about what we thought. Well, discussing briefly the shows we have seen. And do you want to start with the one you saw on Broadway, or do you want to start with the one we both saw?
Well, let's start with the one we both saw because I think that one we can probably both talk about.
Yes.
So this one was again.
Let's contextualize because I have said high school summer music camp.
Yes.
How the program worked, and I say worked because recently how the camp works has changed, and I think with how it's changed, they're not going to be able to do a musical each summer anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But how it used to work, it was a music camp for all the different performing arts.
Mm-hmm.
Split up into 2 3-week programs, but with a theater program, that was all 6 weeks. You rehearsed for the musical all 6 weeks, as well as doing choir concerts every week, and also having to do a musical matinee halfway through, and then performing 2 full shows of the musical and having a whole tech week and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It was also it was the second year. The high school was actually like a preparatory school, so it was kind of a small campus, and there was a new arts building built, and this was the second show performed in that building instead of the local the theater, like the actual like theater in the city where other people perform. I'm getting off topic. I'm getting sidetracked.
You are getting a little sidetracked.
I'm sorry. It's just the program I grew up with and how I came to love theater. I'm just like, oh my god.
I know.
Memories.
I know. But we're
we're
talking about that show.
Yes. But it's theater itself, smaller size, 600 kind of seating theater.
Mm-hmm.
Bit more built for orchestra concerts rather than musical performances, I will say.
Yeah, that I agree with.
But they were able to utilize the stage very effectively.
Yeah, I think this is going to be weird to say, but the high school performance that I saw had a more complicated set than the set that I saw for the Broadway musical.
Granted, your set was a very different kind of set because from what you've told me, the orchestra was on the stage and there wasn't really a set.
Right.
But that was just artistic choice in that particular.
Well, yeah. My point is just it's interesting that it was different. But even then, I think that they did a great job. Like, I think there was only really 2 big sets, right? Like, there was the one big set with the city and the jail. Like, they had the one big set with they had like a balcony, stairs, and then sort of an underneath.
Yeah.
And I think they like dropped down.
Oh yes, they definitely had a drop.
They had a drop for the cell block tango, I think, but I don't. Yeah. But I don't think they like really did. There weren't really many set changes. Like there wasn't a lot of props being brought in and out, nor were there like any like big like huge scene changes in the same way that like something like let's play like the Lion King, for example. That play has a lot of set changes. This one doesn't really have that many.
It's just like getting the props into place to like change it from like courtroom to the jail, so whatever you needed.
Yeah, and for the most part, the main built set didn't change throughout the entire play. So
the main thing that happened was bars raised and lowered. Though at one point during the production, we saw one of the pieces of the set did fall off.
Yep.
And I think someone tried their best to like make it not be a thing, but it was a little bit of a thing. Nothing that like disrupted the show or anything, but like I'm sure everyone in the audience was aware it occurred.
Yeah, and I think the set was really well done.
Yes.
I think it fit everything. You understood where everything was taking place and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I would also say that in that production, everyone was well cast. I was familiar with most of them since I've worked with them in previous shows, though this summer there were also a lot of new people I didn't know, but from what I could tell, they were also very well cast.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Even sometimes, like, when you watch high schoolers, it can be a little jarring to, like...
I mean, granted, all the high schoolers here were willing to spend money to spend 6 weeks out of their summer completely dedicated to doing a musical. Well,
I'm not saying that they were bad. My point,
no.
I'm just more their age, not their.
No, completely understandable. I'm just pointing out to the audience more so keep in mind this is not a high school thing. This is like the dedicated theater kid high schools.
Right. Yes. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yes.
Yeah, so they're all really talented, and, even though it's high schoolers, I still bought their characters, I still bought that they were, like, in their 20s or 30s or 40s, depending on the character they were playing. Which we'll get into later. Anyway, So, yeah, and I think that's really part of it, and that's really what I liked about that play. I mean, like, I can't speak to their acting talents like you can, but I definitely thought it was good.
I know the Roxy. I definitely knew the Roxy, and she was great in the role. The Velma was also really great in the role, though I didn't know her. Though from what I could tell, they kind of had.
Wasn't Velma the?
Oh wait, I got it backwards. I'm sorry. I knew the Velma before, and I didn't know the Roxy before, but they both fit the roles really well. And from my understanding, they had a little bit of the same kind of rivalry outside of it. So,
well,
certainly not to the same extent of complete jealousy, but like
they're kind of like
playing off
friendly rivalry.
Yeah.
I mean and when you can play at that angle, then it makes it even better.
Yes.
I think was Mary Shellstrand played by a guy? Or was it a girl who was then eventually dressed as a guy? Because I want to say might have been a girl.
I think it was. This might be why I don't remember that bit so much.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I will say that year especially, there was an incredibly small male cast.
I mean, granted, you don't need that many men
need that many men. Well, not incredibly small male cast. Like, there were certainly men.
Yeah.
But the reason I sidetrack with a minor story, the reason I got involved in this program was I auditioned to do guitar at the summer camp, and then the head of the program was like, "Oh, you do theater?" Because I did a couple of shows, and then they were like, "Oh, do you want to do the theater program? We could always use more guys."
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's just the rule of high school theater and college theater. But tangent over. This year probably could have used. Sir, at the very least, there was no male there capable of taking on that voice part.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yes, probably. I would imagine it was probably a girl in that one.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe the twist probably wasn't as strong because you were like, well, that's a girl anyway, but
yeah.
Let me tell you, in the actual Broadway show, it's definitely more.
Yeah, let's move on to the actual Broadway show.
So I saw this on Broadway, and like Michael, and I saw it recently. It was in this past December, so I think the cast is still the same. We could probably look it up actually, just to remind me if people want to know who was who. But I saw it on Broadway. As Michael sort of mentioned before, definitely a different feel than the, which is kind of strange. Granted, there haven't been many points where I've seen a school production and then compared it to like a professional production of a play. But, okay, thank you. And then this is the most of the thing. So,
yeah.
That's right. So basically, Roxy Hart was played by Bianca Marroquin. Velma Kelly was Arma Faye.
Sorry, I changed pages on her.
Arma Faye Wright. Then Billy Flynn was played by Chaz Lamar Shepard. Maitre Morton was Valerie Simpson. Amos Hart. Valerie Simpson, who I want to say she's actually was on like a show.
Not on The Simpsons, probably.
No. She was on a different thing. I forget what. But, like, I know when I read her thing in the playbook, I was like, oh, I know her.
Okay.
But I'd have to look into it. I almost want to say she was on Disney Channel. Like, but I'll probably mention that at some point. Amos Hart was Evan Harrington, and Mary Sunshine was Arlo. I don't know what his full name is because you don't list it. But anyway, so basically the thing about this show that's different is, or this particular thing that I thought was different was the set was extremely minimalist. As Michael said, it was instead of a pit orchestra, they had the orchestra on the stage in like this, like, I don't know, like stair looking set. And, like, there was an entrance on stage and off stage from within the orchestra. And the actors, for the most part, didn't actually ever go off stage. there were like chairs along the side of the stage where the actors who weren't participating would just sit. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they would interact with the scene, like for example during the Mr. Cellophane sequence, all the actors would actually like pretend to be asleep or be super bored and like look away, which was a really fun touch. Sometimes the actors and actresses would interact with the orchestra, mostly with the conductor, and even the conductor would introduce some of the song sequences. Uh-huh. So that was a different take. There was virtually, because of the orchestra took up most of the space, there was virtually no sets. The only sets that ever happened was, things being dropped on by bars. The most was like, maybe some chairs or some lighting or like some, sparkly curtains, and that was it. Mm-hmm. Their outfits were definitely way more risque than the high school. The high school version was definitely more to the time period. Like, they wore flapper dresses and stuff. No one in this play wears flapper dress. The only, like, there ranges from, like, like, the men would be wearing, like, very tight-fitting pants and, like, shirts that were either buttoned down super, super low to expose the deep V, or, like, we're wearing mesh shirts that, like, didn't leave anything in the imagination. There was one woman who was just wearing underwear and then, like, sort of like a mesh over her outfit. So definitely a little bit more risque. And the Broadway show, for the most part, was good. But the biggest problem that I had with it is that the two main actresses, Bianca Marroquin and Arma Faye Wright, were way too old for these parts. They were both in their late 50s. And, and the problem is that when you watch them on stage, all I got was, like, maybe they're in their, like, they're in their late, like, maybe you can sort of argue that they're in their 40s at their youngest, but even in their 40s, that still doesn't make sense because of the whole pregnancy plot point. Mm-hmm. Like, how is anyone supposed to believe that someone as old as Roxie, as portrayed by this actress, would get pregnant when she's clearly past menopause? Like the whole point is that Roxie's a young girl. She's not a young girl. She's in her early 20s, but, like, she's younger, right? And, like, even there'd be lines where Billy Flynn would say, "It's a rough world out there, kid." It's like, kid, like, she's clearly older than you. Why are you acting her like she's an innocent person who doesn't know what she's doing or is in over her head? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And, I mean, they do edit some of the dialogue to reflect the fact that she's older. Like, there is sort of the idea that I think at one point she even says, "I'm no spring chicken" or something. But then again, that totally conflicts with the fact that she gets pregnant or tries to, like, say that she's pregnant. And so that doesn't make any sense. And, like, I can buy Velma being older and being maybe, like, in her late mid-30s. That I can buy, but not Roxie. Roxie seems like, from a plot perspective especially, seems more like a younger person. So that was really distracting. And it's also just awkward to see some older women on stage in, like, skimpy outfits. But, Mm-hmm. I do admire them, I will say. Like, I do admire their ability to, do, like, dance moves at their age and, still be energetic despite the fact that they're, not as springy as they used to be. And like, I thought they were great actresses. I just thought they were poorly cast, that's all. Mm. I think the best cast choice was definitely Amos. Even Harrington did a great job. He was so great. I loved him on stage. He like stole the show for me. And Chaz Lamar Shepard did a good job as Billy Flynn. Like, he definitely had the sleaze down. I don't know if there's anything else about the stage play that I thought was particularly notable. Oh, there was that one funny story about kids. So apparently someone brought their kid to the play, and you could tell because the actress during when Roxy's doing her thing, when she's just explaining her, like, how she and her relationship with Amos, she goes up to one of the people and talks to the kid, and she's like, "Hi, how old are you?" And she says that she's 9. She's like, 9? You're too young to be here. I was like, that's a really funny thing. I was like, why would you bring... I'm like, why would you bring your 9-year-old to his play with sex and murder and all this grown-up stuff? Like, what are you doing? If you want to bring your kids to Broadway, like, Disney has, like, a whole bunch of plays open right now. Take her to one of those. She'll love it.
There's no PG-13 ratings on musicals. It's
but that's why you need to research a musical before you go to see it. Like my mom should have done before she got us tickets to see Cats. Fun fact, don't go see Cats on Broadway. It is not worth your money. Like, unless you really like Cats, are a big fan of T.S. Eliot, or just really like
furry.
Or are a furry, or also like
no judgments.
creative set pieces. Then maybe it's worth the money. But even then, like if you like T.S. Eliot, read his poetry. Don't go see this play. Andrew Lloyd Webber is not like good at making things other than Phantom of the Opera. I'd say is that like controversial for me to say that?
Possibly.
I
think he's made other things that would be noted to be good. I mean, Phantom of the Opera is probably his best.
I haven't seen any yet that are better than Phantom of the Opera. Granted, I haven't even seen Phantom of the Opera, but... Well,
Target's having a special album of all of Andrew Lloyd Webber's in Unmask the Platinum Collection.
Oh.
I keep hearing about since I work at Target, and there's the giant electronic screen right next to where I work at the registers.
You're not salty at all.
No. I mean, that's the best part after 2 months of 3 months. Whenever Taylor Swift's latest album came out.
That was like 5 months ago, I think.
Yes, ever since then, that song's just been on there. What is it?
Look What You Made Me Do?
Yeah, that one. That one's just been on, and I'm like, okay, I understand you were promoting the song because it's a special album of Target, but after I thought it would be off the charts by now, I thought you could change it, please.
It's Taylor Swift, man. She's not moving from the charts for a long time.
Hope my professor from college doesn't hear this podcast.
Why? Does he not like Taylor Swift?
No, he loves her.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're listening out there, you know you are on high. If
hello.
You are, in fact, listening.
Hello, hi. So, yeah, like I said.
Sorry for the tangent.
No, it's totally fine. Hey, come on. We're having a fun conversation. Tangents happen. Yeah, but, I mean, I still enjoyed seeing Chicago on Broadway.
Yes.
But I think it probably could have been better if the actresses were a little younger. And it's kind of weird, too, because I don't feel like there's, it's not like Hollywood's bereft of, or not Hollywood, but it's not like Broadway is bereft of younger actresses, and I'm sure there's plenty who are talented. Like some of the supporting cast would probably have been young enough to qualify.
Though, in fairness, Broadway is probably bereft of parts for older women to play, which is just the thing.
Fair.
Happens. Obviously, there are parts. But...
I agree. Definitely getting a part after you reach a certain age as a woman is harder, especially a main role.
Yes.
At the same time, this is not that show. Yeah, this is not the show for an older woman. It's not easy to age them up. Because it conflicts with the plot point. Especially since biology is part of that plot point.
If the play did not have the pregnancy and plot point, it is entirely much more feasible for older women to take on those parts.
Yes,
it's that one point that makes it stick.
Yeah, because like I said, who would believe that a woman past menopause could get pregnant? Even if you're even when you're in your late 30s, it's hard.
Well, men who don't know how that works. I would say they would be convinced. Maybe. But, even when you're past 35, it's super difficult to get pregnant. You don't even need to be in menopause for it to be hard. Once a woman gets into impossible.
It's not impossible to get pregnant after 35, but it's, significantly harder. In your 40s, it's, super hard. And then once you hit menopause, it's almost impossible. If not impossible, unless you
that 78-year-old
surgically
that 78-year-old
something.
There was a 78-year-old woman a few years ago that got pregnant.
Yeah, it's possible. It's just like really, really, really unlikely. So unless without medical assistance,
yes.
I'm talking.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Without medical assistance, it's like pretty much not possible. With medical assistance, maybe, but even then, very unlikely.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a tangent, but that's the big reason why problem I had with this.
No, yeah.
Other than that, I enjoyed it.
Yes, but I think that's all we got specifically have to say.
Yeah.
But definitely a show worth going. Of course, Chicago
definitely.
is on Broadway, and I am sure it's still going to be on Broadway for years to come, so do not worry about missing it.
Yeah.
There is the movie adaptation that came out in 2002. I want to say that is like the main adaptation of the musical for the film.
And as far as I know, although I haven't seen it, I think it's one of those movies that works for the most part.
Yes,
so,
from my understanding, it is one of the.
I know it stars Catherine Zeta-Jones and I forget who plays Roxie. She's a pretty notable actress. I'm stunned that I can't remember her name. But either way, from what I understand, it's a pretty good adaptation. So if you're one of those people who, is
a stickler for the original.
If you're sticking for the original and or you don't want to see the play because you want to see Chicago, but you don't have the money and or the will and or the ability, the means to see a play version of it. The movie, I think, is a fairly serviceable, from what I've heard. Again, I haven't seen it myself. Fairly good representation of the play. Mm-hmm. So there's also that if you wanted to see it.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah. And you can also listen to SoundJack in different places. I know it's up on YouTube, Spotify, those kinds of places. You can definitely get some form of it if you are not able to get the whole thing.
Before you sign off, I just wanted to say, I don't think I've said it on your podcast at all yet, but my Twitter is functioning! Yay! Finally!
Yes.
I mean, I might have mentioned it. Have I mentioned it before? I might have mentioned it before. But even if I haven't, it's really exciting. I'm on Twitter again now. You can follow me at The Rational Dove. I make occasional posts. I haven't been making all that many posts, but I'm hoping to make posts more in the future. Yes. Maybe when I'm watching or reading or doing something fun, I'll send a post out and all that good stuff. I don't know. I'm still figuring out the ropes of Twitter, but feel free to follow me there. And
your Tumblr.
Yeah, also there's my Tumblr, which is also The Rational Dove, if you want to follow me there.
Speaking of social media, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, SoundJack426. Also go check me out on the Nerdy Geek Talk YouTube channel, where I'm on the Steel City Bots podcast with a bunch of folks. Sometimes they pop over on this channel for the SoundJack's Rambles, but I talk Transformers all over there. There's also a whole bunch of different shows going on over there. There are Transformers things and other various nerdy things, most notably Star Wars and superheroes and that. And all that jazz. But yes, please check those out. But that is all I have to say. And I think we do very much give Chicago a very high approval rating.
Yes, you can't see my thumbs up, but I'm thumbs upping it right now.
But that is all we have to say. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please like and share this video and subscribe to the channel. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SoundJack426. And also please consider donating on my Patreon page to help support the channel. All the links will be in the description below. Thanks for tuning in. This is SoundJack and Alyssa signing off.